This is a 1978 Honda XR75. I picked this up recently from my family member who used it on the farm back in the 80s and early 90s, but it has not ran since the late 90s, so I grabbed it and we're going to try to get it running here. Quick overview of the bike here. You can see it's missing the side panels and the number plate. Pretty dirty. I did do a little work before this, tried pumping up the tires. The back one didn't take, so we'll have to fix that later on. Cables seem good. The throttle's a little finicky, doesn't want to return, but it's good enough for an old dirt bike. Going around back to the exhaust, you can see that's pretty wore out. I do end up replacing that here. And the cylinder that had a little bit of pitting in it, we did put some oil in it and let that sit for a bit. And the air filter was basically non-existent. I'll show you what's left of it here. It just crumbles. So that wasn't good. Got a new one on order there. Now we're pulling the petcock off of the fuel tank and going to take a look and see what's in there. There was a little bit of fuel left in this. It was pretty raunchy. I could definitely tell it's been a long time since this thing tried to run. Yeah, the petcock was completely plugged, so had to use a drill bit to get that opened back up and working. And the fuel tank itself, you can see there's nothing coming out of the bottom. But when I flip it over here, you'll have some gas come out. Nice gas in there. I don't think it's supposed to look like that though. Inside of the tank wasn't too bad. There's a little bit of varnish in it, but overall not horrible. I ended up just putting a little bit of gas back in it, splashed it around, dumped it out, and I did that a few times and it cleaned up good enough. Taking a second look at this petcock here, I was actually able to save the original one, which was really surprising. Usually the gasket inside of this and the gasket that mates it to the tank is pretty rough, but I was actually able to save it all. And now we're going to start pulling the carb off here and see what kind of mess we get into here. Forewarning, it is pretty rough. One of the worst carbs I have seen in quite some time. Alright, I'm going to move you over to the bench here in a second, and we're going to start tearing this carb apart and seeing what we can do. I'm no pro at rebuilding carbs, but basics of it is you gotta pull everything out that you can, get it as clean as possible, and put it back together. There's not a whole lot. But yeah, you can see here is all the crud coming out of the bottom of it, which is pretty nasty. There's another look at it. Real disgusting, and the rest of the carb was pretty much the same as that. I'm going to start pulling the jets out of it here. The jets did clean up relatively easy. The pilot jet took a little bit, but was eventually able to get it freed up. The jets, I was able to save the original ones, the float, needle, seat. I was all able to clean everything up and put it back in, so didn't have to mess with any Chinese jets and stuff like that, which helps a lot. A lot of these jet kits you order online from China just aren't perfect, and they really make it hard to tune once you get these things up and running. So the more OEM stuff that you can save, the better. And here's a quick dip in the carb cleaner, and then we start cleaning stuff out. You can see here I got the drill bit inside of that petcock, trying to get that plug out. Did get it out eventually, but that stuff was grimy. I was actually pretty surprised. I was thinking I would for sure going to be ordering a new petcock, but was able to save it. Anyone counting how many times I've said petcock in this video so far? There's certainly better ways to clean all of this stuff. I just do with what I have in my shop. There's a lot of ultrasonic cleaners out there and things like that that really do wonders to get these carbs and little parts really clean and working really well. But I just don't have that, so I make do with what I have. A little carb cleaner and some compressed air go quite a long ways, and I've got a lot of bikes running doing that this way. That is good enough for me. Let's get to the rest of this carb. Got everything disassembled here, cleaned up as much as I can or as much as I want to, and we're going to start putting stuff back together. Back on the bike, got the carb assembly reinstalled, just finishing up here, putting that in, and I'm going to try to kick it over a few times. I'm going to continue to kick this thing about a gazillion times, but it's apparent it's not going to run right off the bat, so we're going to move on to other things here in the video, and then I'll come back and try to get it going again. The next clip you'll see here is pretty quick, but this is just the exhaust that I ended up doing. This little Chinese exhaust, and then here you can see I used the old mount and welded it onto the pipe to make that work, and it's decent. It works okay. The new filter element finally came in the mail, so here I am putting that on. Before I went any further with trying to start it, I just wanted to get everything perfect, because I know some of these bikes, if you mess with the airbox, they can get kind of finicky when you're trying to run them and tune them correctly. So just wanted to start from baseline before I tried to start it anymore. Gonna start working on the rear tire now. That did not hold air. Gonna pull that off here quick, and we'll put a new tube in it. Everything here was pretty crusty. I really had to hammer on that axle to get it out, but I did finally shoot out on the floor there. But yeah, as you can imagine, there's 50 years of barn dirt and grease and whatnot here, but the bearings seem to be in pretty decent shape. Chain and sprocket were pretty rough though. And now we're starting to pull that tire off. I should replace it, but honestly I just like how cool it looks with all the original tires and stuff on it, so we're just going to send it. This isn't going to get too much use from me, at least for the first few years here. Maybe someday we'll put a new tire on it, but for now we're just going to put a tube on it. I've done a lot of tires in my life, so I wouldn't say I make it look easy, but I'm able to do it a lot easier than a lot of people. But it's not too bad once you get a process down. See, I use some baby powder on the new tube here to put in. Makes it a lot easier, and then when you fill it up, it makes it a lot less likely to pinch. Once you get the tube in all the way, the dangerous part ensues. So gotta get this tire seated on the bead here, and that requires spooning it on a little bit, at least part of the way here. The biggest trick I've found is that when you're using these spoons to put it on, don't jam the spoon all the way into the inside of the rim. Don't go past 90 degrees with the tire, because that's when you start pinching the tube and causing flats right off the bat, which are super frustrating. These old tires went on relatively easy, so there wasn't much force involved. Getting everything buttoned back up now and on the bike. A couple of minor issues I had to work through. Got the brake adjusted here. Also had to bend that back into place. It was pretty crazy. Now here's me running across the driveway trying to start it, and I'll let you listen in here. Well, it's running, but it's pretty rough and it's pretty loud. like to eventually get a quieter exhaust for this because it is pretty raspy for me. I'd like to have something that's pretty decent to drive around without blaring my ears out. After this video, I did a bit of carb tuning, and eventually I got it to sound like this. Running nice and smooth, and took it for a rip down the road, and it runs fantastic. This bike turned out great. The only thing I did was replace the exhaust and the air filter. Everything else is original to the bike. Appreciate you guys watching this video. Here's a little outro of me just ripping it down the road. Thanks for hanging out.